Hello and welcome back to Your Take is Excrement, the show that your parents tried to get you to stop watching, but you wouldn't stop watching for some reason. Are you
ready?
fucking kidding me?
Fun fact, that was Saints Row for me.
That was Saints Row?
Yeah, Saints Row 3. Anyway, I'm Maya. This is May.
It's called Angel Grind, don't get it wrong. Hi, I'm May Leitz, inventor of Angel Grind.
Hell yeah.
And I also invented Fluids, the book, and I'm dropping an album literally the day we're having this conversation.
Hell yeah.
Get your towels ready. It's about to go down, as Lonely Island would say.
Good old Andy Sammy.
Andy Sammy.
Yeah. All right, so before we really get into the episode, we'd like to thank our sponsors, Machine Age Productions and their RPG #iHunt, and also MV Dream Studio. It's Nancy Store. We'll talk about both of them further on in the episode.
Yes.
You can also check us out on Patreon, patreon.com/excrement. I will use any money given to me to buy hormones. So there you go.
Well, and I'm under the impression that if you hand me money, I will just buy drugs with it. So I would probably discourage ever supporting us. But at the same time, you're going to do it anyway. You don't like to be told what to do. And I get that. Mm-hmm. I also don't like being told what to do.
If you're one of the people like me who does whatever you're told not to do, if you're told something, then you do the opposite
intentionally. Like
don't go
yeah.
give us money on Patreon.
No, fuck no. What are you doing? Take your money and go buy yourself a McCheeseburger, whatever the fuck. I'm sorry, I don't. I've never. All right, so are we supposed to be talking about something in specific, or is this sort of one of those fuck arounds you hear about?
No, I think we're talking about the movie we both watched yesterday.
Everybody's been hot on the presses trying to figure out what the fuck movie we're gonna do next.
Yeah,
and I understand it's an exciting life. What?
And the movie's just Stanley Kubrick's Full Metal Jacket.
I've never seen that. Were we? Oh shit! Were we supposed to watch that for the podcast?
Hey, did you not do your homework?
Fuck. I forgot. I've never seen Full Metal Jacket. Can you tell me about it so that I don't have to watch it?
Okay.
So tell me what happens in the movie so that I don't have to watch it.
A bunch of Marines go to boot camp. They get berated by a drill instructor for 20 minutes. Then one of them goes nuts and, in the most Chad move possible, guns down his drill instructor in the bathroom.
Doesn't he also kill himself?
He does. That's less of a Chad move.
Oh, I was about to say, is that a Chad move?
Not killing yourself, but killing a drill sergeant. I think killing a drill sergeant is. And then it jump cuts to the main character Joker in war, and he's a war journalist.
The Joker?
The Joker.
I didn't know this was a Batman movie.
Yeah, it's actually a Batman prequel. It's about why the Joker got radicalized against the rich, because he's like the Waynes helped fund.
So what you're saying is Joaquin Phoenix's performance in Joker is entirely influenced by Full Metal Jacket.
Yes. Joker's ideology is that the Waynes helped push the Vietnam narrative and helped
Full Metal Society.
Full Metal Society. Anyway, so Joker is a war reporter in Vietnam, where on the Tet Offensive starts happening, and instead of a cozy just easy job, he gets assigned to do war journalism for a combat patrol, and then they have a walk into hell where they just have a patrol where everything goes wrong, and everyone in leadership dies, and then they get pinned down by a sniper, and then they kill the sniper, and it turns out she's just a Vietnamese woman who wants to defend her territory, and they end up coup de grace in her because she's bleeding out, and they don't want to just leave her there.
Right. Well, that sounds like a really happy film. It sounds like it's a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah.
Sounds like one of those movies you'd want to put on at a kid's birthday party.
Oh, absolutely.
In lieu of a clown.
Mm-hmm.
The kids don't like clowns anymore. They like the digital world. So you turn on Full Metal Jacket and you're like, here you go, 7-year-olds. It's time to learn what America is all about.
The one word of warning I would say before you give it to a bunch of 7-year-olds is they do use a lot of racial slurs. just about every single moment of that movie. So unless you want your 7-year-old running around repeating racial slurs for Southeast Asian people.
But Maya, racial slurs are normal. Just ask Kanye West, who has no problem with them,
just
apparently.
ask Elon Musk.
Just ask Elon Musk, the inventor of Twitter.
The inventor, owner, proprietor, and savior of Twitter.
Yeah, since the last time we were here, free speech became legal again, which I thought was, I mean, that's pretty cool. That means I can say whatever I want. So I guess that means that I can say something like Elon Musk should get tased in the balls. And no one can stop me. If I was to say that Elon Musk should get tased in the balls on twitter.com, he can't really be mad about it because he did make jokes legal again.
Yeah, but I think he's a whiny man-child, and
no, he can't be sensitive.
Really?
Do you mean a shrimp freed this speech? All right. Yeah, so Full Metal Jacket. These are jokes. I've seen it. I've seen the movie. I went to film school, so I was inundated with this. I saw the shit out of this movie. I sure did. So I think that I think it's a pretty good movie. But I had a revelation watching this film the other night. I realized that I had not watched the movie since doing LSD. After having done LSD, the movie was somewhat different. It wasn't quite what I remembered it to be. Not to say in a bad way. I guess you can just say I can tell the difference between margarine and butter now. You know what I mean? I can see through the bullshit. So,
but can you believe it's not butter?
I don't believe it,
okay.
but I do know it to be true. It's not butter. I will and every okay. So just right out the gate, the first thing that I have to say about this movie is I think that it's really fucking wild as fuck. That plenty of American males saw this movie and had two thoughts. Thought number one was,
me so horny.
That's not it.
No,
that's. Oh, what's up? Anyway, no. The two thoughts were, damn, that drill sergeant is funny. I should make him my entire personality. And the second thing is, wow, the Marines are cool, actually. I can't wait to join them and then not die in war because nobody dies in war. Come on.
I mean, but that's absolutely contrary to what the movie's about.
Imagine fucking walking away from that movie going,
really
I think it's time to die in war.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's really funny. Well, we've been talking about this a lot. There's quite a bit of I don't know. There's the thing that's like every war movie is accidentally an indoctrination, or not an indoctrination, an endorsement of war, simply on the fact that when you portray something that is so larger than life, it's like almost an acceptance of it. It's like a well, it's an endorsement in a weird way. It's like being like war is hell and stuff. Oh, look at that. We have lights.
Look at that.
Wow,
you can see us now.
Great. So anyway, yeah, no, yeah, I understand that sentiment of how like every time you're criticizing a war movie, you're actually accidentally endorsing war movies or war. But there's a stark difference between like American Sniper, which is a war movie in the loosest sense, because like while it is a war movie, it's also hoorah absolute bullshit. And like, but this, I feel like, how do you walk away from this and not? But at the same time, listen, I understand, I comprehend that I have reached whatever age of reason it takes to view something at a surface level and accept it. So, I guess my point here is just that in watching the film, I had never at any point felt that I was okay with anything that was on screen.
Yeah.
So that's the beginning and ending of my first take and my opening arguments. Joe Biden, would you like to respond?
Why am I Joe Biden?
I don't know.
Okay, fair enough. No, I think it's definitely the Marine Corps is a fuck, and it sucks to like be in. And I think it even there's this like duality in the movie that I think is like one of the most frequent like visual themes, and they even explain it in the movie where Joker's like his on like his helmet it says like "Born to Kill," and then on his jacket he has like a
the
peace
Jungian
button.
duality of man.
Yeah, and so I think like anyway, there's just like there's a lot to this movie that I think people just don't get because it's just it really confuses me how people will attach to this movie as opposed to any other shitty war movie. Because this one in specifics, like, yeah, boot camp will dehumanize you and like mentally break you down, and it's really fucked up how that happens.
No, you don't understand. It's really funny when they grab their cocks and they walk in a circle and they're like, "This is for fight and this is for fun.
This is my rifle. This is my gun. This is for fighting. This is for fun."
Well, okay, so my big mega take, my mega mind, big brain take about the movie is that like the absurdity of the movie has a I'm going to call it it's not an endorsement, but it does break down the American reality. So like if you're breaking down the American reality of what war looks like and you show it to be dehumanizing, embarrassing, and fucking a nightmare, then like I guess instead of being like, oh yeah, it's very scary, the possibility of death, and like, because those are the surface things, right? Is like people are always like, I ain't going to war, I'll die in war. Very true, you probably will, because maybe going around a country with guns is bad. But anyway, I think that the movie, because it quote unquote has a sense of humor about the whole thing, which is to say that it's absurd. Like it makes war and indoctrination and like what would you call like somebody's identity being broken down, right? It's like ego death, dehumanization. It treats that like a joke. But the thing is, though, like that is how it's treated. Yeah, it is treated like a joke.
Well, yeah, and like I think war is absurd enough that like if you're trying to accurately portray it, it's really hard to do it in a way that's not funny to a degree, because
and the thing it probably also worries about is the possibility of coming across pedantic. So instead it's like, well, we're not going to be pedants about it, we're going to be like, you know, if we force you to like get in there and join in and accept it, then like at that point, like you're almost guilty for it too. Yeah, if that makes sense. And so that's more Stanley Kubrick's like thing, right? Is like he's a very direct filmmaker, and everybody always talks about how esoteric he is, but he's not that esoteric. He literally is very straightforward, and like his straightforwardness comes across confusing to people because they think that he's saying something galaxy brain when he's really just expressing an absurdity. And that's like every one of his movies is like he expresses some absurdity, and a bunch of people either are like, ha ha ha, this is funny, I'm gonna make this my whole personality, or they're like, what was Kubrick trying to say there? And it's like, did you watch the movie? Yeah, was Kubrick actually anti-war, or is that liberal boy? Yeah, exactly. And it's just like, he was pretty anti-war, but at the same time, I think that the duality of man thing is like, in a weird way, it points out, I think, that the main character Joker is an anarcho-communist cat boy.
Yeah.
who's probably trans and is gay.
I think that's a big takeaway.
Yeah, I do
Joker's
think
gay.
the movie would have been better if there was more people sucking dicks. Honestly,
I think Joker should have sucked Cowboy's dick. I think that would have made the movie
I think
very
if
good.
Joker would have sucked Leonard's dick, everything would have been fine at the end.
Like,
they all would have
he's
died
in
in
the
war
bathroom,
together.
and he's like 7, 6, 2 millimeter. Joker's like, all right.
Matthew Modine's just like, I was thinking, I have a solution. You might be startled at first, but if you give it a minute, you might be okay with it.
Kubrick's just like, keep rolling, keep rolling, keep rolling, keep rolling.
All right, Matthew, get in there.
Matthew. No, this is natural. This is good. Keep going.
Just on probability alone, at least 2 of the people in that little platoon there had to have been trans.
Yeah.
And that's why Full Metal Jacket is good. Thank you for coming to our podcast.
Yeah.
Like and subscribe. These are funny jokes, but but my point there is that, like,
if you go to ao3.org, you can check out my animal and 8-ball 800-page fan fiction.
Oh my. Well, okay. That's good. That's good. I'm glad that you have a hobby. No, but my point there is that the movie is about Joker, a person who doesn't agree with the concept of war, being thrust into war and then having to accept it. And Leonard is like somebody who can't war, and then he gets good at war only so that he can destroy the death cult that he's found himself in.
I think it's interesting they never touch on why anyone joined the Marines. Like, a lot of war movies where it's like, if they wanted to make Joker like the sympathetic anti-war character, it had the scene where he gets like drafted and he's like, doesn't want to go to war.
Talks to his mom and is like, Mom, I don't want to go.
I don't want to.
But the movie just starts dead ass in the shit.
The movie never at any point is like, here's why Joker went to war. Like, was he drafted? Did he volunteer? Like, what's the
deal with him? Yeah.
And so it's like, it's kind of, you're almost missing a huge part of how, like, of
the process.
Of like the process, yeah.
But I almost feel like, in that first scene, they are all the same, but they're all also unique, and they all react to the situation differently in the way that it dehumanizes them.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, Joker understands pretty early on that the process is dehumanization, and so he's like, no matter what I say, I'm going to be wrong.
Right.
So, like, because of that, his tendency is to, like, try to take everything with a grain of salt because he knows that there's, like, some larger purpose to the thing. So, but in a weird way, that's him as, like, someone who's somewhat more liberally minded, accepting the language of the Marines.
Yeah.
And, like, his acceptance looks like rebellion.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, actual rebellion is Leonard getting really good at shooting when they start talking about shooting, just so he can fuck the sergeant. I think that's great. And so it's just like, which one is the one that's actually doing an anti-war? Is it the one that's like, I'm in war and I'm taking pictures of it and also participating? Or is it Leonard who blows his brains out,
right.
which is the more liberal act?
Mm-hmm.
But I think that, like, that dichotomy is the way that the movie's trying to talk about the way that, like, well-minded, non-war ready people have to deal with the concept of going to war.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm rambling.
You're rambling? No, I mean, I think you're making fair points.
I just am trying to inject all of my takes into the soil now so they can grow into beautiful mushrooms by the end.
Right.
You know?
Well, and I think there's also an element to it where, like in the movie where Joker's innocence somehow survives boot camp.
Yeah.
So where, like, everyone else's innocence was beaten out of them in boot camp, he somehow kept it, but only to lose it in Way City.
Yeah. Well, and they talk like at length about the 1,000-yard stare thing, and he doesn't quite understand what that exactly means. But like at the end, he fulfills the dichotomy, right? Because he's like born to kill, in the sense that that's how American males are conditioned, right? That they're born to go die in war. But also peace, like we don't have to do war. But there he is, not wanting to do war, while also unfortunately being born to kill this one specific person out of mercy. But the mercy in and of itself is an act of war and simultaneously an act of peace.
Yeah, well,
thus demonstrating the duality of man.
Yeah, well, and like there's also the interesting scene where they're like interviewing everyone in the platoon, and they're all like, yeah, we shouldn't be here. No one wants us here, but we're Marines. We're going to kill people. That's what we do.
We're here to take care of it.
Like animals. Like, what if we just killed all the Southern Vietnamese? Because they seem like the ones that kind of suck.
Right, but they're there to stop communism.
Yeah. Listen, I think the more we talk about this, the more we approach me just like talking about how based I think Ho Chi Minh was. But
ooh, is
that
the theme?
Listen, anyone who overthrows Pol Pot is Nito Dorito in my book.
To me, yeah. Well, imagine overthrowing Pol Pot and then the Americans being like, "All right, that looks like a colonization opportunity to me."
No. So this was after the Vietnamese War.
My apologies.
So, yeah.
I don't actually know anything. So it's mostly talk out of my ass.
What's crazy about that is so after the Khmer Rouge took over Cambodia, Ho Chi Minh was like, it's really fucked up and it's really like anti-communist that they're like just killing all their people.
Yeah.
So they invaded Cambodia, but since China liked Cambodia more than Vietnam, China jumped in on the side of the Cambodians. And since America was still incredibly butthurt about losing Vietnam, they also jumped in on the side of the Cambodians. And Ho Chi Minh and the Northern Vietnamese were like, what, you think you think we didn't just get through this? You think you scare us, you sons of bitches? And it took them like 6 weeks to free Cambodia.
Yeah, well, and just only slightly back to the movie. There's like a bit in the movie where they talk about how really the reason they're there is to try and indoctrinate the Vietnamese into the American lifestyle, which is like just on its bold face, just being like, we are here to colonize the communists before they can do a communism.
Inside every slur for Southeast Asian people, there's an American waiting to be freed.
Yeah.
Fuck.
Well, and like
I lost it at that line.
Well, and I like that they're constantly talking about the ideas of like freedom. You came out here to be free, but it's like what American freedom actually looks like is some guy with a gun never having any consequences for having done horrific war crimes. They're just like, that's totally okay and fine to do, as you know. It's completely cool. But that's the freedom that they were obtaining, right? It's the freedom to go over there and kill anonymous people as much as they wanted to.
Yeah, well, there's that scene where they're talking to the helicopter gunner who's unhinged and he's just gunning down civilians. And he's like, it's like if they, if they run, they're VC. If they don't run, they're well disciplined VC.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, how many women and children have you killed? And he's like, oh, ain't war hell, boys, as he guns down more women and children.
Right.
And Joker's like, what the fuck?
Yeah. But also, like, we know that is a thing. But knowing it's a thing and then like sitting next to the guy, and I feel like that's almost the way that the movie does everything, where it's like, well, we know what drill sergeants are like. We know what drill sergeants are like. We know what boot camp is like. We've heard a million stories about that. But actually just sitting in the room and watching it, very different energy. Sitting in the room or sitting in the helicopter with a guy who's anonymously killing everyone is a completely different story.
He's laughing while he shoots women and children.
Exactly. And so, yeah, you really don't know what the fuck you do with that guy. Like, how you react to that guy, like in the same way that, well, how do you react to a drill instructor? You know, you can be like, well, you're full of shit, but watch that be met with like untold acts of violence on your face.
Right.
You can reject it, but they're just going to beat it out of you.
Right. Well,
and go ahead.
It's, I think one of the big questions I have is like, why didn't they kick Leonard out? Like, why didn't they Section 8 Leonard?
Yeah, this is a great point.
Right? Because it's like, I don't know. It just, and that's kind of what I was trying to figure out watching the movie this time. Is it like
the signs were always there? Yeah. Why didn't they never?
Well, the drill instructor obviously like knew he wouldn't cut it.
Yeah.
To some degree, and like everyone else knew it.
Well, he was using him to motivate the rest of them.
Yeah,
and so the idea is there's always like a weak one that is meant to juxtapose all the strong people so that you motivate the strong people. But then like when you beat somebody into that weak state long enough, eventually they're like, no, I'm actually strong, actually, and I'm going to kick your little ass.
Okay, we should go to ads because I have something I want to bring up in relation with Leonard that's going to take way more than to the halfway point.
Is it that Leonard's gay and sucks dicks?
No, it's actually it's there's this historical war crime that we did in Vietnam that like no one knows about.
Okay.
Anyway, but speaking of historical war crimes,
yeah. Speaking of war crimes, here's an advertisement.
Here's an advertisement.
We're going into the advertisement world.
The ad zone.
Wow, this advertising world is crazy. All I can see everywhere are ads for Raid Shadow Legends and NordVPN. I sure am tired of the same two advertisements. Go subscribe to Audible. Now, wait, if only someone would come up to me right now and tell me of a business or service that isn't Raid Shadow Legends, NordVPN, or Audible. I wish somebody would do that. I think that would be great if someone just interjected right now.
Right now? Oh yes. Oh, that's Machine Age Productions and their RPG #iHunt. Listen, we're all nerds here. We all like tabletop role playing games. So go for the next go play #iHunt. It's fun. Yeah. It's good. Pick up the book.
And personally, on a personal testimony, I think that it's fantastic that the people who make iHunt support our podcast so that I can vape.
Yeah.
I think that's really cool of them.
Yes.
Yeah, much cooler than Raid Shadow Legends, NordVPN. Wow, I feel like I'm bouncing back. I feel like this advertising world is not quite as evil as I previously thought.
There's more.
There's more?
There's
my God.
Dream Studios.
If you tell me about more, I will crap my pants.
You'll crap yourself?
Yeah.
Well, all right. Buck, get that diaper on.
Hello Fresh.
Listen. Go get some art. Decorate your walls. Capitalists hate blank walls. Oh, no, capitalists hate decorated walls. I'm sorry, I fucked that up.
They don't like it when you're happy or not a coffin.
Piss off a capitalist and go put some Ambient Dream Studios art on your walls.
Yeah, Ambient Dream Studios. Their Etsy store.
Yeah.
That's my portion of the advertisement. I do know that much. Their store is actually really cool. I've like fucked with their store a few times. And yeah, they're great. So thank you to our advertisers. I feel like there's probably personal advertisements to also make, like I wrote a book. It's gay, where I read it with your eyes or your mouth or your ears. Or you can check out my new album, which I leaked today but drops at midnight, called My Dead Neopets, that I've been working on for the last like 5 fucking months. And I'm so happy to be done with so that I don't have to think about it for a minute. That's Patreon.
Oh yes, patreon.com/excrement.
Yeah, it's a website.
It's a website. I will either buy food or buy estrogen or buy food to grow my tits. So,
well, yeah, honestly, we probably do need food. I mean, we can't just live off of Red Bull, vape, and estrogen. But watch me.
I bought a bunch of salads today to eat as like throughout the week, and I ate them all this afternoon.
Salads? What are you, a liberal?
My doctor was like, your cholesterol's a bit high, so I've been trying to take care of that.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
My doctor would probably be like, "Wow, you're about to die. What are you going to do? Do you have a funeral prepared?"
She was like, "Hey, you're gonna quadruple your dose of Spiro and eat less red meat."
Did it help?
the Spiro, it's making me sleepy. Constantly.
Yeah.
Anyway, but so what I was gonna say.
Oh no! We have to leave. We have to leave advertising. We're still in advertising world. All
right,
John Madden. All right, we're back.
All right, so the name of this thing I'm going to talk about isn't ideal, but I don't know. It's like it's just the name of the thing that happened.
Nomenclature.
So, unfortunately, so there was this thing. It's called McNamara's Morons.
Okay.
Which is the spice, like it's spicy. I don't agree with calling it that, but that's just like the thing where
you can call me a moron. I don't care.
Well, I mean, wait till you hear about what it is. So,
all right.
Robert McNamara, who was the Secretary of Defense under Kennedy, was looking at the draft results, and he's like, "We need more young men to die in the forests of Vietnam. We're not." Too many people are failing out of the draft because they take a test, and if you can't pass the test,
right,
you draft you flunk out of the draft, and you're medically exempt. And one of the things they tested for was like IQ and like general intelligence. And so McNamara was like, well, there are a lot of people flunking out because they're not passing the intelligence tests we do. So they basically took as many like autistic people as they could, and they trained them all together. So like all the officers were autistic, all the soldiers were autistic or had so, and then they dropped them off in the front lines of Vietnam, and they had like a horrifically high
fatality count.
Fatalities. Yeah, they just like died in droves because
this surprises me.
They weren't. They shouldn't have been in Vietnam.
Well, technically, no one should.
No, but like,
definitely not people that. Well, I feel like that is such a weird dichotomy, but at the same time, it's like nobody should. I understand, but no, they were literally just like, what if we just took a bunch of people and made them meet for machine guns?
To motivate everybody else. The military's literally like, hey, if we need people who can score above this on this test, because people who score under it won't do well in combat, and they'll just get themselves killed, and it'll be like just tragic and fucked up if we let them in. And McNamara is like,
I got an idea.
I have an idea. It's like I think in some ways, Pyle, or I can't.
Leonard
is kind of supposed to represent that, where it's like, anyway, but like it's just. It's something America did in Vietnam that's incredibly fucked up and no one talks about and like no one knows about.
Yeah, well, that's nice. That's good. We like that. Did they also do a program called McNamara's Gays, where they were like, our boys need blowjobs?
No, that's just.
So they sent some gays to some twinks to the front line to go ahead and.
That's just when Kennedy couldn't like sneak in Marilyn Manson. So McNamara was like
Monroe?
Yeah, that's what I meant.
What a funny misunderstanding. Okay,
so he couldn't. So
I wasn't ready for
when
that.
When Kennedy couldn't sneak in someone to have sex with
Marilyn Manson,
Marilyn Monroe, McNamara was like, I'll take care of you, boss.
I heard Nancy Reagan gives good head. They said I hear that's true. I don't know Nancy personally. She is dead, but I bet if we resurrected her, she'd be the throat goat.
Give me my shovel. I'm going in.
I gotta dig up that throat goat. Yeah. Why isn't there a movie that's kind of like Frankenstein, but it's somebody resurrecting Nancy Reagan to get a mad blowjob?
Why isn't there an auteur like Oscar bait film, like art film about just Nancy Reagan blowing everybody she could get her hands on?
Well, there will be, I'm sure.
And we'll make it, damn it.
Yes, it'll be my film. I will compose it. Opening scene, Nancy Reagan cleaning cum off of her lips. Reagan in the background going, damn, Nancy, you still got it after all these 35 years.
Reagan's eating jelly.
He's like eating
jelly beans.
Jelly beans and his
like, I just like to watch.
Nancy, I love it when you blow my friends in front of me while I eat jelly beans. Anyway, back to war crimes, our favorite topic.
I don't know. I think talking about Reagan's penis is a war crime.
Why? Would you prefer that he didn't have one?
I don't know. I prefer not to think about it.
President
just in general.
We love a president that we're talking about a man who gets on estrogen. We're talking about a man who gets our SRS. He gets FFS. He's like, top tier hottie at that point. We're talking about a BBL, Brazilian butt lift for Reagan, so he's like all kitted out, but still identifies as a man, because I think that men can look any way they want. Nancy couldn't blow him anymore because he had a vagina at that point, but she still ate him out. Are you okay?
No, I'm not.
Did I do it? I did it. I finally did it.
Fuck.
Oh,
no.
boy.
Be a U.S. president and try not to commit a war crime speed run.
First off,
Impossible.
if I was a U.S. president, I would immediately use that to use my gender to fuck with the whole world. I'd go meet with somebody, you go meet with the people, in Israel, and you're just like, "Hi, what's up?" And you're snapping.
Well,
who are we bombing today? Slay.
We know who Israel's bombing today.
We do.
The same people who've been bombing for 40 years.
Yeah. That would go well, I think. Generally, my point is we need more gender confusion in world politics, as well as blowjobs. I think Nancy Reagan was really doing us a service there.
No, but see, here's the thing with being the American president is you can kind of be as senile as you fucking want, but everyone wants to buy guns from you, so you can just kind of like be Reagan about everything, and everyone's so like,
I don't know where I am, but I have a lot of AK-47s and I need some money.
I don't know where I am, but the CIA assures me we have a lot of Soviet munitions that we need to give to an autocracy to oppress people. And listen, I just have the driest dick.
I just have the driest dick. We were talking, Ben Shapiro's got a pretty dry dick, I've heard. I've heard his has never been moisturized.
I feel like never mind, I'm not going to make that joke.
You feel like Ben Shapiro should get SRS and then become like the hottest
No,
dude
I was
I've ever
gonna say I think Ben Shapiro's really into chastity. I'm just gonna throw
You think
that
he's
bomb
really
in
into
there.
chastity?
Yeah.
Do you think he has a cage?
Like absolutely.
You think
every second.
His wife is like, "Are you still wearing the cage? It's still No Nut November."
See that's why he keeps on talking about like his wife just being like cruel and dismissive to him.
Locktober.
Like, yeah.
Hey. I like that. I fuck with that.
Anyway,
yeah.
Back on topic. I think if Stanley Kubrick was alive,
he would be taking estrogen.
No, I was gonna say.
Okay.
Well, maybe I don't know.
Maybe.
But I was gonna say he would approve of this message.
He would think this was the funniest. Stanley Kubrick had a wet ass pussy.
I want to know
Everyone knew this.
I want to know what Stanley Kubrick's favorite joke was. Do you ever think about that? Like, it's like, what's the funniest thing to Stanley Kubrick, and is it something incredibly lame?
Well, so one thing that was weird about Kubrick, right, is that so when A Clockwork Orange came out, there was a copycat crime based on the thing from the movie that happened, and he felt a lot of remorse for his choices. But that ended up being his entire career. The only movie that Kubrick ever made that people were like, "I'm not about to make this my whole personality," is Eyes Wide Shut. Because it's a movie about a literal cabal of people who wanna fuck people and kill them with drugs and are rich. So actually, the funniest joke to him was probably something very misogynistic. Don't forget, he also bragged about abusing her leading actor. She did. Stanley Kubrick, the lady, sure did. I just think it's funny how that was phrased.
No, I mean, anyone born when Stanley Kubrick was born. But a better
question is, who the fuck are we talking about? What is Stanley Kubrick? I'm 12. I've never actually heard about that. Did you know that he was supposedly a controlling, aggressive asshole on set.
Yes, I have heard that.
I've also heard that completely destroys any and all sentiment he's ever made, including all the good ones.
I've also heard I've heard different things. I've heard like
Stacy Kubrick.
What?
Stacy.
No, well, because like I know. Well, it's weird because like some actors were like, yeah, it was great working with Kubrick. I loved how he like ran his set.
Weirdly, all dudes.
That's fair. I didn't think about it that way.
Well, it's because he blew them.
It's because Kubrick was his own fluffer.
McDowell. He loved Malcolm McDowell because he was a twink and had a big penis. Okay, so we're gonna move on. We
were spinning our wheels in this bit.
Well, the thing is, if you want to make a movie that is about the absurdity of war, then you also have to be a little racist. Apparently, you have to be okay with constantly putting slurs in the entire movie, and like after a while, you're like, okay, I think we got the point. But then they keep on going.
Yeah.
So the thing is, I feel like the concept of Kubrick being a bastard is almost like, it's almost like, duh? Like, yeah, did you watch the movies? Like, yeah, there's a part where Leonard's like smiling and then the drill sergeant punches him in the face like full fist, and you're like, for a film with stunts. It's like, no, he got hit in the face. Like, Kubrick was always just like, fuck that shit, we're gonna do it live.
Yeah,
we're doing it for real. I'm gonna make them all miserable. So like, I'm not necessarily saying he was an equal opportunity misery creator, but he certainly was a misery creator. So at the same time, every time you hear something about that, you're always just like, well, like, yep. I've seen The Shining. She's upset.
Yeah.
I wonder why. Is it because? Probably. So I don't know. I always feel like there's a thing that kind of there's certain contexts where these things don't necessarily, like, catch me watching a Woody Allen movie any day and just go ahead and cap me. Like, done for.
Right.
But Kubrick is different because I feel like the gateway for entry is, this is a movie that's going to be like really hard on me. And it's really hard on the creators, and it's really hard on the audiences, and it's hard on like the way that people have actually taken it. So like the gateway for entry is a little different. Woody Allen is mostly known for being like, it's okay that I abused her. What? And you're like, okay, I don't know. It's a very different energy. I'm not necessarily saying that we shouldn't cancel Kubrick. He is dead, so God has already canceled him.
Did Woody Allen flee the States, or was that just...
I think he might have.
Is he the one who like...
He probably should consider it.
Is he the one who like moved to Europe?
That would be Roman Polanski.
Okay.
Also, Roman Polanski, pretty bad dude.
Yeah.
And I know we know that, but see, okay, so the whole separate the art from the artist conversation that people are always having, a lot of people will be like, well, Roman Polanski did make really good movies. My response there is, have you actually watched them? Because Repulsion is a movie about a woman that's absolutely terrified of being raped in her apartment. So, like it's weird that he would then go on to be a rapist, unless he perhaps was using that film as a vehicle to kind of like massage out his like weird rape fantasy, which is possible. And then you're like, well, luckily he only did it once. And then you watch Rosemary's Baby, where the woman gets raped by Satan, and you're like, okay, that's twice. So I guess my point is just like, man talks about woman problems seems very, sometimes it seems very like, I need to excuse my behavior or something like that. But I also agree that Kubrick would not punch Jack Nicholson in the face. Probably not. But
I feel like Jack Nicholson would kick ass. I feel like if you punched him in the face, he'd get
he
your
would
ass
fucking
kicked.
throw. Yeah, very true. But at the same time, he did make Jack Nicholson do hours and hours and hours and hours of the same shot on like a billion shots on The Shining. So like, there's this story from the early 70s where I want to say it was Sam Peckinpah directing, and I can't remember the actor's name. Brolin, I think.
Josh Brolin?
No, the older one. His father, James Brolin. Yeah, I think it was James Brolin being directed by Sam Peckinpah. I could be wrong on this, so don't fucking quote me. But the story goes that he made him walk out of the back of a building like 45 times in different takes. And on the last one, like the actor came out and was like, yeah, I'm not doing that again. I'll just break contract. Like you can literally suck my dick, and left. And like, so the thing is like, at any point, Kubrick doing that to Nicholson, you'd think that Nicholson at some point would be like, "Ah, boy, I'm gonna get the heck out of here, dude." But he didn't.
Wait, is Clerks 3 out?
It is.
Fuck, we have to go watch Clerks 3.
Why? Why are you so excited?
Because I went to check in with my boy. I hate him so much.
Kevin?
I hate him so much. I want to know how he's doing. You know, like my hatred has horseshoed around to like general, like actual interest and empathy for his life, but only so it can fuel my hatred for him.
Okay. That I feel very similarly about about many
sense?
people. No, I too like to hate follow people who make bad art. That's one of my big things.
We did watch Tusk, and I despised it. I did not like
it.
That
made me want to
movie.
put a tusk into my own heart so that I would die.
Into my own brain.
Yeah.
No, like, see, okay, my thing with Kevin Smith though is like, oh, I'm glad he lost a lot of weight and is healthier. I still hate his movie.
Well, like any of his own personal achievements have nothing to do with what he's decided to do with his voice. And I think that's like the big point, right? Is like, yeah, of course you don't want a dude to die. Of course you don't want a guy to fucking suffer. Suffering sucks. We all hate suffering. But at the same time, like, I am going to continue to consume Kevin Smith's work and laugh and be like, wow, what a fucking asshole. Because he keeps doing asshole things.
Speaking of someone in chat was like making movies like as confessions. Speaking of that, remember when he made a movie about or in a character in the movie was a 14-year-old who just really liked having sex with adults?
Yeah, I felt that well, and it's, you know, listen, I'm not saying the movie was produced by Harvey Weinstein or anything, but it was, and it did have that in it, and I can almost picture Harvey sitting in the test screening, watching that and just laughing, being like, "This is fucking next level humor right here."
If you walk into a room with Harvey Weinstein, the one person who can be in that room and make it worse is Kevin Smith.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. Anyway, I'm done with Kevin Smith jokes.
Did I tell you? Well, I did tell you that I ran into Kevin Smith once, and it was really weird. And he was with Jason Mewes, and Jason Mewes sure drank 3 Red Bulls in front of me. So that man is recovering from an addiction. I'm pretty sure he's also been canceled, but I don't think Kevin really cares about that. Listen, I'm not saying Ben Affleck is like a great dude or anything, but I will say that I too would be out there smoking a cigarette all dejected and also dropping my coffee if I'd been in fucking Mallrats. I'm running out of jokes, and we're supposed to be talking about Vietnam. But the Vietnam War is so simple. It's just, we shouldn't have done that. Ouch, why did they do that? The government bad. I think Marine are bad. Detail about that. But no, we started talking about how directors suck.
So I watched this really interesting video essay on why, as a culture, we're really into headshots, like getting shot in the head. Because I would love to get shot in the head. They were talking about how, like, in the 50s and earlier, if you wanted the media way to kill someone, to shoot them in the heart. And so, and anyway, so there's this like actual like noticeable change in media where it goes from like shooting them in the heart to like the head, and like The Godfather's part of that when he blows them away in the thing. Well, and they're also, but they're talking about how there was the picture where it was a Southern Vietnamese officer just executing a dude on the street. It's like a really famous picture.
Okay,
and it's like taken like right after he shoots him.
And
so anyway, so it's like, it's like that picture is a big reason as to why like we have a cultural obsession with headshots.
Interesting. That's really funny.
Yes, it is the Jacob Geller. I've been watching his essays like crack.
Also, I want to point something out. I think that Analog has a good point here when they say that invading Vietnam was actually essential. We had to colonize Vietnam. It was a good idea to do because they had not yet been introduced to Clerks. Actually, I think that that's what the ending message Kubrick is trying to say, right? Is like, we've colonized Vietnam unsuccessfully. Now we have to make them all sing Mickey Mouse with us.
Yeah.
Gotta be American,
right?
But no, I think that the reason we've been colonizing other planets is to try and get them to watch Kevin Smith movies with us. So that they can be like, oh yeah, that's right. Being American is better because Kevin Smith is an American. Something
I really liked about Full Metal Jacket is as the movie went on, like the color palette just got darker and darker and darker.
More and more red and fiery.
Yeah, until like in the end, it was just like
literal hell.
Like, yeah, it was just like the bits in Apocalypse Now where he's in the room with Marlon Brando.
Let's go Brandon. Let's go
Marlo.
I think that anyway, Me So Horny, Me Love You Long Time. Can we talk about that? Do you think that this movie is racist in its depiction of the Vietnamese?
Give me a second to
That's a
cook on
long
that.
pause. That's
yeah. Well, so okay, like there's an element where I think there's like I think that Kubrick was trying to communicate how racist the Americans are.
Yes, true.
So like I think it's like yes, the movie says a ton of slurs, a lot, but that's like he's trying to communicate that the people saying the slurs are bastards.
You know what Full Metal Jacket desperately needed was Dante from Clerks being one of the soldiers, so that when the prostitute comes up and is like, "Yeah, I'll fuck all 15 of you for $5 a piece," he's like, "You sucked 27 dicks. I loved you." And then he just starts mistreating her. Yeah. And Kubrick's like, yes, this is the way. This is the American idiom here.
So
duality of man.
So I think that, like, I don't know. I don't think Kubrick was specifically racist against the Vietnamese. I think he made a movie about a war, and everyone in the war was horrifically racist.
This is true.
Put that in. So I don't like. I think the racism in the movie is to try to communicate how racist we were towards these people.
It's difficult to say that any of the choices on screen are not intentionally absurd. And I feel like that's maybe my big argument with the movie, is that I feel like the movie makes war so unbelievably absurd that people didn't believe it and instead decided that it was mocking the military or mocking that. Mm-hmm. And then they thought it was mocking it with, being, stupid and dick humor and racist and shit.
Right.
And very like throw caution to the wind. And because of that, a lot of people made it their entire personality and were like, haha, this is ironically funny. Look at me sticking up to the military by being racist.
Yeah. So that's not cool. But I think,
no,
I think like, if you're making a portrayal of something and part of what you're trying to communicate is the atrocities that those people did and how shitty they were to people, I think that is a fair thing to communicate in film.
Sure.
I don't think that's a fair thing to emulate.
I think it is a difficult thing So like I feel like one of the big reasons why people like Kubrick in the modern day is that he kind of just did and said whatever he wanted, which is not necessarily like good, I guess. Like nowadays people would be like, you should probably be more aware and cautious of such things, but he just sort of would just kind of just put it all in there. And like a lot of people do the thing where they're like, this couldn't be made today, but it totally could. I would just probably like it to be made by somebody with a little bit more like actual life experience. But in my eyes, I don't think I think even an American film deity like Kubrick can get away with portraying American colonialism without just inspiring the very thing he aims to criticize. I'm going to criticize that statement only in the word deity. I think that like even people that like Kubrick don't quite view him as a deity. I think that that's kind of like, we put so much goddamn stock in an auteur, and it's like, well, you know, ultimately he was just a guy with a shitload of resources that tried to do something honest with it, and like it was a shitbag. And also, if you've ever been on a film set, this is in no way excusing it. If you've ever been on a film set, the high stress, like awful relationship between creatives and like figureheads does draw a certain amount of tension between them, and this can often end in different people who are different mouthpieces, both having different interpretations of similar events. So like Kubrick maintains this reputation, I think, mostly because his films are pretty good. That said, I don't necessarily think a lot of people watch Kubrick movies and be like, Kubrick. Like, there is definitely some, but also the film going public is very small, and I actually don't think most people like give a fuck about Kubrick.
Right.
But like in film school, people worship the shit out of him, and it was really annoying. But when it comes to like the actual like world at large, I think most people think that The Shining is a good movie just having seen The Shining, and I don't think that they really go too much deeper. Like I know a lot of my grandparents in my life have been like The Shining, and like a lot of people like The Shining completely divorced from the fact that Kubrick made it. So I think his movies have value and meaning, especially to a lot of people, but I think that also comes with the unfortunate reality that they were made by him. But them being made by him, like, I don't know, that it kind of lives beyond him in a weird way. I guess it kind of goes back to the Woody Allen thing. It's like Woody Allen being shit, Bill Cosby being shit, people like that being shit. It's super easy to just be like, well, yeah, fuck that. Like, really, when it comes down to it, Annie Hall might be a movie that's really annoyingly important to a bunch of film professors and shit. But when it comes to like its actual cultural impact, I don't think that a lot of modern filmmakers are like, oh, Annie Hall was the movie for me. But I do think that the influence of Kubrick's like very direct, but also very intentional filmmaking on almost like a practical level has injected itself into the culture more than anything else. So it's less of a, we should be criticizing Kubrick, which we should, but like it's less about that. And it's more just like, Kubrick is fucking weirdly foundational to the language that we all now accept as cinema. So it's kind of hard to really get at him beyond that, because it's like, well, but the man made the movies that literally influenced you when you were young and didn't know about him. Like before you even knew about him, he was influencing you with his cinema. So like, it's just a kind of a different thing.
Think of how many movies have a boot camp sequence just because Kubrick did it.
Oh,
like, or TV shows or whatever.
Well, and like the other thing is, we were kind of touching on this earlier, but the whole idea that like like he just starts the movie right at boot camp.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he doesn't. There's not even any dialogue between characters in the first like 20 minutes. It's all the drill sergeant
Just screaming at them,
and they're kind of told what their personalities are more than they actually like.
He's like, "You're
announce
cowboy,
them.
you're Joker, you're Pile."
Well, and they give them these names, right? And then they have to live up to the names because people are generally do what they're told and what they're expected to do. So
yeah, well,
like it sets up their personalities and expectations. It's him giving them character for who he wants them to be and not who they actually are.
I'm like, even like Cowboy's his when he's like being interviewed, he's like, I think Vietnam's fucked up because there aren't any horses.
Yeah. Well, and so they're all just kind of weirdly playing a role. So it's like war becomes like this big act of theater where we use theater to ignore the consequences. I think that's almost more the point we should be taking away is that people have a tendency to do what they're told. So you put them in a room, you lock them in the room for like 6 fucking months and you stress the shit out of them and tell them who they're going to be. And then they leave the world, go to another country, and then they are exactly the person that they were told to be, and they continue to use themselves as an arm of the actual state, using that persona, and that prevents them from ever catching the fear of death, and also it stops them from ever, like, feeling like there's no point to being there because at that point it's like a big school play that just so happens to lead to the death of millions of people.
Well, like, do you think with like Animal, like, because it's like there's the moment in the film where he turns his persona off?
Yeah,
because like you know he has the whole like gung ho, I'm a crazy insane badass, but then the moment like he realizes that like Cowboy's incompetent and
that people are going to die,
people
because
are going to die, he's like, all right. He just turns his persona off and he's like, all right, now I'm going to be a leader.
I actually, well, and there's some real like nuance and personality and like empathy in there, but it's obviously it's only empathy extended to other Americans, but the realization that the entire like state created structure has completely fallen apart, like the chain of command has fallen apart, and at that point you pretty much have to he would have to literally become the thing that he's pretending to be.
Right.
And he doesn't actually want to do that because he cares about his friends. And so like him being called Animal, yet him not running away from protecting his friends, it's like there's like a weird marriage between the theater and reality.
Right.
Yeah. Anyway, I'm gay.
Anyway,
I can do things with my guitar that you'll never be able to do. You're gay. Enter Sandman. Let me take a look at how long we've been doing this shit.
About an hour.
We are coming up on the we're coming up on it. So I guess we'll go ahead and start walking ourselves out of the podcast here. So yeah, you're gay. We'll see you next week when we talk about Clerks 3, and that would be Azzy that's sitting behind us. Let's be nice. Fuck you. Anyway, we're going to get back on our old horse and ride on down to the saloon and have ourselves a nice tall whiskey, and then trying to use that to fall asleep.
Yeah.
And if that doesn't work, there's always a hammer. Anyway, so
that's the Pelosi's.
So, oh God, we didn't even fucking talk about that. Jesus. Anyway, all right.
God bless. We'll see you next week.
All right, y'all. We'll see you next week when we choke ourselves to death live on camera. Well, goodbye now.
Goodbye.